Here's a quick tutorial on how to build an entirely CSS-based horizontal navigation. Instead of building a completely random navigation, I'll attempt to replicate the navigation in CNN.com. It's a simple navigation. It doesn't use many images other than the background treatment for the first three links, which you see here, and also the select state, which in this case would be home. For those images, I created a sprite. I went ahead and created the list that we'll use to make this navigation. It's right here. Just pasted that in. So let's actually start it off with a nav tag. We'll wrap it with a nav tag. It doesn't have to be a nav tag. It could be a div tag with an ID of nav or menu or whatever you're accustomed to naming your navigations. The only thing we have to do at this point is add the dark classes to the first three links. In this case, it would be home, video, and news pulse. So I'll do that here, create some classes for dark. And because there are no dark classes created in the CSS right now, you won't see any treatment. We're just preparing for it right now. And I'm going to pick health just randomly down the list and make that the selected state. So now if we click save and click refresh, this is what we see. I'll go ahead and create the style tag. This is not normally how you code. You would normally create a CSS file and create all of these classes within that CSS file, but I'm a little lazy right now and don't want to jump from page to page, so I'm just going to create everything within this file. So what I did right now, just to get started, is I created a few classes that target the different elements that I've created. Let's take a look at what we're trying to do compared to what we have. Right now we have bullets and we have navigation items sitting next to these bullets. Obviously it looks nothing like what the end result will be. So the first thing we need to do is remove those bullets to kill the padding and margin that's next to each link, and float the items next to each other. So we do that by first going into the UL class, giving it a padding of 0 and a margin of 0. Then we'll go inside of the LI class and do a list style type of none. And we want to float each navigation item next to each other. To do that, you just use the float property and give it a value of left. And there you have it. Now that we have the navigation items aligned properly, we can begin stylizing them. The first thing we want to do is start at the very top. I already typed in the font, the pixel size, and the font weight. So you'll see this is what it looks like. You'll also notice inside of CNN that there's a 6-pixel, almost like a horizontal line that sits underneath the navigation to give it that tabbed effect. I went in and I grabbed that color, so I know the value of the color, the hex value of it. I also know that it's 6 pixels in height, so I didn't want to waste any time going into Photoshop and making those measurements. So what we could do here is go inside of the nav tag, give it a background of the hex value is DF. And there's a border or a padding of 6 pixels to the bottom. And the way these 4 numbers work, I'm sure most of you already know, but the first value is the top padding. The next value is the right padding. then the bottom padding, then the left padding. It's clockwise. So I'll click Save, go back to our navigation, and you can see that it's there. And again, you're probably looking at this and saying it looks nothing like CNN. Trust me, in the end, it will look just like it. So now that the navigation or the nav tag is completed, now we can move down to the UL tag. We already gave it a padding and margin of 0. The background color, we're going to just give the entire UL a background color of, we'll give it a gray for now. I don't know the exact hex value, so we'll just do this. We'll just give it a CCC, which is a very light gray. We'll see what this looks like. All right, so we can't really see anything at this point, and that's fine. The reason why we can't see is because these navigation items are floating left, and when you do that, the UL actually loses its height. Its height is actually 0 right now. Because it's 0, we'll go ahead and give it a height of 38 pixels. So now that the UL is done, we can start working on the LI tag. The LI tag has a few things that we need to add to it. It's a background and some borders. So let's start with a background and the hex value of the background navigation item. The static state is B60002. Just so that we can feel a little bit more comfortable with where we are, let's go ahead and give each navigation item its appropriate padding. And one thing that we definitely need to do is give it a display, give every single link a display of block. But now once we add the padding, that's when things will start taking shape. So let's give it a padding of top and bottom of nothing and left and right of 10 pixels. We also want to give it a line height of 38 pixels, and what this will do, align the navigation item vertically. We should also remove the underline, so text decoration of none, and let's give it a color of white. And that's all it took for us to actually see a navigation that looks very similar to what we have here. Next thing we want to do is add a border. Let's zoom in a little bit over here. You'll see that between each navigation item you have a very thin hairline border on both the right and the left side. So on the left side of world, it's a lighter color, and on the right side of world, it's a darker color. And what we're going to do is apply that treatment to every navigation item. And what it does is it gives it that bevel look. So inside of the LI, we're going to give it a border right of 1 pixel, solid, and the value is 99000, and border left, we're going to give it 1 pixel, solid, and then CA000, 0002. We'll click Save, go back to our navigation, and you can see now it's starting to resemble the CNN navigation. So the next step is to create the 2 different classes that we have. We have a dark class, which will give home video and news pulse different treatment. And then we have the select state, which will take health and give it that selected state. This is where the sprite comes into play. So the very first thing we're going to do is create a new class. It's li dark, and then we'll create another one for the selected state. And this is where this image comes into play, this sprite. Let me zoom in a little bit. So we have this image here, which will act as a sliver that'll repeat. Same thing with this image right here. It'll repeat horizontally across the selected navigation item. So to do this, we go inside of the dark class and we give it a background, give it a URL, be navsprite.gif, because that's what I named the file. So we want it to start in this area right here at the very top, horizontally. So we're going to give it a value of 0. And then what we want to do is lift up the image 38 pixels. I know it's going to sound very confusing, but I'll get into much more detail in another tutorial for sprites. We click save, and when I click refresh, here we have the 3 images, or the 3 navigation items that have that dark treatment. But we also have this ugly color on the sides. I don't know what their value is. Let's just give it like a border right of 1 pixel solid. Let's give it a, I don't know, 333. Might be a little too dark, but that's all right. We'll see what it looks like. It's not terrible. Now we'll give it a border left, something a little lighter. Let's give it 1 pixel solid. Let's just try 999. Might not be a good choice. No, we'll try 666. See what that looks like. It still doesn't look good, but or maybe we can just get rid of the border left. We'll get back to that some other time. But that's what it looks like right now. It doesn't look perfectly clean, but we can always focus on details after we get the basics done. Next thing we want to do is get the select state, and it's pretty much the same thing we did here. We're basically changing the background using this sprite that's right here, but instead of starting 38 pixels down, we're going to start at the very top. Get rid of these PXs. We'll click refresh, and you can see it's doing what it needs to do, but we just need to change the color. And to change the color, we actually have to go inside, not inside of the LI, but inside of the A tag that's within the LI. So here we're targeting the selected LI and then going into the A tag, and then changing the color to the background red. That's the hex value that we're going to use for the color. Click save, refresh, and there you have it. Oh, and one other thing we need to do is the hover state. I believe the hover state has a value of 900. I could be wrong, but we'll see what happens if it is 100. So we'll go into the A tag. We created the hover selector, and we'll change the background to 900. Click save, and there you have it. And that's your navigation. There's your, you know what, this is actually bothering me right now. I want to figure out what color this is. So I actually found the colors. I wrote them down and lost them before. Now I found them. So the dark value for right is 86302C. I know I'm boring you guys right now. This is the very last thing we need to do before we can sign off on this tutorial. So just bear with me. And the right value is A04C47. Click save, and there you have it. There is your CNN navigation. Lift this up a bit.